And welcome to another episode of Upon Further Review. I'm Josh Aubrey. We'll be hearing from Frank Sulkowski later on in the show as Frank joins us to discuss this week's upcoming high school matchups for our Bullitt County teams. We're also going to be showing you some highlights from the big matchup for the Georgia Southern Eagles as they host Arkansas State in their home opener. The Eagles, of course, the last team in all of FBS to play a home game. They're also trying to do to Arkansas State what Arkansas State did to Georgia Southern last year, and that is the Eagles struggling in this season, hoping to turn things around against Arkansas State. Last year, of course, Arkansas State at home were able to come from behind, knock off Georgia Southern, and that helped turn their season around. We'll get to highlights and let you know how the Eagles did in just a moment. But before that, we'd like to remind you for any legal advice you may have in the Statesboro, Bullitt County area, we have the man for you to call, Lovett Bennett Jr., attorney at law PC, Lovett's office located in downtown Statesboro. All right. Georgia Southern, long anticipated home matchup at Paulson Stadium. Wednesday night, a rare time for the Georgia Southern fans to be at Paulson, but they had a pretty good crowd on hand. Georgia Southern and Arkansas State, let's send you out for the highlights, and here's some post-game comments from head coach Tyson Summers and some of the players. The Georgia Southern Eagles finally at home as they open things up at Paulson, hosting Arkansas State in their Sun Belt opener. We pick up the action in the first quarter, and the defense trying to set a tone, sacking Justice Hansen. A little bit later, Hansen goes back to pass, and Chris De La Rosa there for the interception. Arkansas State with 5 turnovers in the ball game. The Eagle offense unable to capitalize, though. They'd go 3 and out the first couple series of the game. Wesley Fields dropped for a loss. A little bit later, Sawyer Williams starts the scoring with a 43-yard field goal, 3-0 at the end of one. In the second, the Eagles trying to move downfield. Wesley Fields fights his way ahead for a first down. That drive would stall. In comes Tyler Bass for the 27-yard field goal, and we're tied at 3-all. Arkansas State scores quickly thereafter as Hansen finds Chris Murray wide open for the 56-yard touchdown. The extra point failed, and it was 9-3. The Eagles come right back. Montero Garrett going 74 yards down the sidelines all the way in for the score, and the Eagles with their first lead of the season. The defense coming back strong. Hansen going deep, but Kendall Vildor there for the interception. Eagle offense trying to get something going, but Shai Wertz is blindsided. Arkansas State will recover, and a couple plays later, they turn that into points as Warren Wan goes 25 yards for the score. The extra point failed again, and it was 15-10 Red Wolves. The Eagles then with another interception, their third of the first half, setting the offense up in excellent field position, and this time they'd cash in. A nice option play here, and it's Wesley Fields fighting in for the score from 8 yards out. The Eagles take a 17-15 lead, but that lead short-lived as Justice Hansen finds Chris Murray all alone for the 57-yard score. And we go to the half with the Eagles trailing by a score of 22-17. In the second half, Arkansas State picks up where they left off. Hansen to Blake Mack for the 29-yard score to make it 29-17. A little bit later, and Shai Wertz underthrown. This one picked off and ran back to midfield. And a few plays later, from the 12, Warren Wan goes in for his second touchdown of the game to make it 36-17. that score would hold into the fourth quarter. A rare bright spot for the Eagles here as Shy Wirtz airs it out. Perfect pass to O.B. Fortune, who hauls it in. The lead cut to 36-25, but Arkansas State comes back again. Hansen to Omar Bayless, and they'd go on for the win here, 43-25.
You know, we had the same juice, I feel like, the whole game. Just towards the end, a few things didn't go our way, you know, through the pick. They kind of killed the momentum a little bit, I feel like, and that's just on me. You know, and it is what it is. We gotta fix that. I can't be making those kind of mistakes in the game, in the conference game like tonight. I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point of that game. The pressure, you know what I'm saying, it is what it is. But I feel like, you know what I'm saying, I was comfortable the whole game. You know, just unfortunate things didn't go the way we wanted to go tonight.
Everybody really down, but you know, we tell all our players we got to keep our head up. The season's not over with. Like I just told the other reporter, this team that we just played last year started off 0-4, and they ended up winning our conference. So they give us a lot of inspiration. And these few days, we just got to get better. They made some plays. That's all. I mean, it's just it. Everybody saw they made plays. They made good plays. They made good catches. But we're gonna bounce back from it.
Going into tonight's game, I really thought this. And again, I'll continue to say it. I thought that where we were going and what we were trying to do throughout the week, and where our players' heads were at, and the way that we took the approach from a preparation standpoint, I thought all those things were really there going into it. I thought we had as much focus and as much juice and as much energy going into the game as we certainly had, and I've got to commend our guys for that. I really thought tonight was going to be our breakthrough night. I really did, but what we've got to do is we got to keep working. And we've got to keep pounding the rock with everything that we've got. I think that a big part of it, was again from offensively. I thought tonight at times when we executed well, I thought we executed as well as we have all year, and I think that the thing that we got to continue to work towards is just to continue to be more consistent. And I really feel like the same thing from a defensive standpoint. I think that, again, when we executed tonight, I thought that, man, they played hard. I thought that you saw a lot of energy. I thought you saw a lot of guys being able to play at a high level. 5 takeaways, 4 interceptions by 4 guys that are getting their first interception in their career. But again, we give up too many big plays, so we've got to continue to work on our consistency there. And again, there's a lot to be encouraged about. But ultimately, we're still not where we want to be. There's nobody that's more frustrated about that than I am. But I continue to see growth in what we're doing. And I continue to see it in a lot of our players. I think that Shy kind of goes into that same thing. I think that you see him executing. I think that you see how far he's come in 3 or 4 weeks. And I think that, again, we've just got to continue to work on the consistency part of what we're doing, and we got to go back to work. And I certainly believe that our football team will continue to do that. The other piece I think that I've got to point out, and I've really got to challenge myself, and I got to look myself in the eye with this, and I got to challenge our football team, and I got to challenge our coaches from a discipline standpoint. There's some things that went on out there tonight that I'm not pleased with, and we have just got to make that, continue to make that more of a focus point of what we're doing from a discipline standpoint. Again, if we can become more disciplined, and again, that's certainly something that starts with me, and I've got to challenge our football team and our players to do a better job with that. But again, I thought tonight would be our breakthrough night in what we were doing. I do think, again, that I saw on both offense and defense where our execution at times tonight was as good as it's been all year. But again, and there's a lot to be encouraged about, and there's nothing about feeling good about a loss. There's none of that. There's no part of that. and I'm certainly frustrated, as I know these young men in that locker room are as well. But I continue to see growth in a lot of these guys, and I'll continue to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can do from a head coach standpoint and everything that I can work towards, and continue to have our guys head in the right direction and believing and improving in what we're doing week in and week out.
Lee Hill and Johnston Insurers. We've been Statesboro's insurance people since 1963. That's a lot of memories. Recognized as one of the leading agencies in Georgia, Lee Hill and Johnston is independent and offers a complete line of personal and business insurance for auto, life, home, and health. We'll shop companies to find the lowest premiums and best coverage for you, your family, or your business. Lee Hill and Johnston Insurers, the insurance people since 1963.
To stay ahead, a parent has to really be on the go. And stop for school, stop for sports, stop for an intervention. But you don't have to stop for banking. To stay ahead with mobile online banking, bank ahead with Queensboro National Bank and Trust.
See Jeremy Reagan and the staff at Queensboro National Bank and Trust, South Main Street in Statesboro.
And joining me once again, it's Frank Sulkowski, the big guy from WJCL Television in Savannah, here to kind of break down some of our area Bullock County teams playing this week. Frank, you've got Statesboro High. They're going to be going on the road to New Hampstead looking for their third straight victory of the year. You got Southeast Bullock hosting Johnson, and Steve Pennington going for his 200th career victory there, as the Yellow Jackets will be in homecoming hosting Johnson. You've got Portal going on the road to McIntosh, and Bullock Academy traveling down to Frederica to take on the Knights. Let's begin with Statesboro High and New Hampstead. Last year it was one of those weird 10 or 11 o'clock games. New Hampstead comes in and they really blew Statesboro out. This time around, Statesboro goes in with a little momentum, but New Hampstead no pushover. They've had maybe one common opponent, that being Liberty County. Statesboro had that game won and ended up losing it in the last seconds. And as for New Hampstead, they lost a 1-point game, 14-13. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, I'll tell you what, another winnable game for Statesboro, but they're going to have to play really well. They're going to have to do just as we've seen over the past 2 weeks, and that's just play fundamental football, and they can win this game. New Hampstead does have some athletes. They do have a new head coach. You talked about last year's game. Some of the key guys who really showed well against Statesboro last year are gone. So New Hampstead, a different team, but they have been impressive at times. They blew out a very good Savannah Christian squad earlier this year. That was an impressive win. They've also roughed up Long County as well. So again, New Hampstead, they're now going with the big boys, and I expect Statesboro to come over here and put up a fight when they play in Pooler on Friday night. I think this is a good chance for Statesboro to win that third straight. It's a good matchup for them. Again, as long as they just do the fundamentals and do things right like they've been doing here in the past couple weeks, they shouldn't have a problem against New Hampstead.
Speaking of good matchups, or at least just what the doctor ordered, the Southeast Bullock Yellow Jackets coming off scoring 50 against a pretty good Islands team, now have Johnson coming in. You know, Southeast hadn't won a game at all this year until they knocked off Islands. Now they've got maybe a little bit of their swagger back, and they've got a team coming in Johnson who hasn't won a game all year and really hasn't been competitive in any of them.
Yeah, you know, there's not much to say about this. Southeast Bullock, barring the whole team not showing up for the game, they should win this game. You know, again, those early season matchups SEB had against Jenkins and Benedictine really prepared them for this part of the schedule. They're not going to see the type teams they saw in their non-region games and earlier in the year. This is this could be a lopsided game. They scored 50 plus against Islands. They can do that very easily against Johnson. Johnson's a team that is kind of really have no identity. Been blown out in every single game they've played. You know, their numbers are a little bit down and just really starving for some playmakers out there, which they haven't been able to find. So Southeast Bullock should have a relatively easy night at home on Friday night.
Of course, as we mentioned, Steve Pennington wins that. It's his 200th career victory. As for the Bullock Academy Gators, coming off a big 17-0 victory against Edmund Burke, now they had to go down to Frederica. Last year, Frederica came to Bullock Academy undefeated on the season, and BA was able to beat them 8-7. Now they've got to go down there, and I'm sure Frederica would like nothing better than to turn the tables on the Gators. Frederica with some pretty impressive athletes down there, a couple of D1 prospects down there as well.
They do. They have a couple good athletes, really good athletes there. But as a team as a whole, a very beatable squad. Now, I have seen them, and they do look good. But I think that, BA plays good fundamental football. And if they can do even, mirror what we saw against Edmund Burke, this thing can be very competitive, very tight game against Frederica. You got to contain those big dogs, those guys who are major FBS prospects. You keep them in check. The playmakers around them aren't anything real exceptional. So I think BA has a chance to go pick up their second straight win over Frederica. Again, it's going to take a clean game, limit your turnovers, and give what Frederica gives you. But I definitely can see BA going on the road to pick up a win. It's going to be tough, though, but I think they can do it.
And wrapping things up, you got the Portal Panthers taking on McIntosh Academy. And Frank, both of these teams only have one win on the season, which is a little strange for McIntosh, considering they seem to be a team that either tanks it and doesn't win any or one game, or they go all the way to the state championship or make a deep state playoff run at least. What's going on with them?
Well, the big story down in Darien for McIntosh County is Robbie Robinson, no longer the head coach. Of course, he was there years ago, made McIntosh into a perennial playoff team. He left, and then he came back and led them to the state championship game, the single A state championship game last year, where they fell to Macon County. Then in the offseason, there were some things off the field going on and allegations of hazing and everything else, and a lot of pressure. So Robbie Robinson resigned his post down there. So having that continuity of the same coaching staff for multiple years really starting to rear its head. McIntosh still scrappy, though. Don't let that record fool you. They're a scrappy bunch with athletes that can play, and they will hit you, and they will pursue. The big thing there is, and this is maybe not Portal's strength, is trying to get out to an early lead where those guys start getting a little spent for MCA. That's going to be tough to do. MCA is going to be, they're no slouch, and they're better than that one win total. So this is a tough one for Portal. This one in the matchups doesn't look good for the Panthers. I think McIntosh is a hungry team, and I expect them late season to hopefully get some things going in the right direction. But this one's just a tough draw for Portal.
All right, well, Frank, you're going to be back on the Frenzy once again because no Georgia Southern game there on Saturday, at least no road game, so you'll be able to be back on the high school football field once again on Friday. Anything in particular you're going to be covering?
I really haven't broken down things yet. I kind of go where the wind takes me, and I look at those matchups and where I'm needed. So, I'm trying this year to maybe get out a little bit more and to feel the whole territory out. But yeah, for 3 straight weeks now, I'll get a chance to be here for the, on the set for the Frenzy. Looking forward to another Friday night coming up, again, 11 o'clock on WJCL 22 News.
All right, Frank, once again, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing some highlights from these high school games for you on the Frenzy coming up Friday night. Yep. Frank Sulkowski with us, and stay with us. We're going to be hearing from our area high school football coaches in just a moment. Family Internal Medicine Associates of Statesboro, providing primary care for Statesboro area patients since 1998, providing complete physicals, complete sports physicals, Medicare wellness exams, full diabetes treatment, and education from lifestyle changes to oral medications to insulin pump therapy. In-house dermatology, in-house circulation tests and ultrasounds, in-house lab. And introducing our new nurse practitioner, Melissa Beasley, as we now accommodate same-day or next-day appointments to serve your needs. Family Internal Medicine Associates of Statesboro, where we care.
No credit refused isn't just an offer, it's a way of business and has been for over 100 years. No banks, no ridiculous credit requirements, just local Badcock store owners who treat you right and give you credit when others won't. It's never been easier to express your style and love your home.
Well, you've heard from me and Frank. Now it's time to hear from our area high school football coaches. Statesboro High on the road at New Hampstead, Southeast Bullock. The Yellow Jackets for homecoming, coming up at home against Johnson. For Bullock Academy, it's a trip to Frederica, and the Portal Panthers head to McIntosh County Academy.
another tall task this weekend against a New Hampstead team that's 3-2 and very, very similar to us. And as far as offensive production, very athletic, very fast. So, we got our hands full every week. We're real pleased yesterday with the kids came out and had a great practice, a lot of energy, really working on the things that we need to improve on. We got to maintain that throughout the week in order to have a chance this weekend.
What do you feel like you have to do to come out with a win against New Hampshire?
They're very fast and physical defensively. We got to continue to get better up front offensively and protect the football. We really got to find a way to eliminate these drops that we have on the perimeter offensively and defensively. They're another team that's eat up with team speed. We got to contain them, hem them up, and shore up our tackling.
The 1-2 punch with Tupac and Stacy has been really productive for you. I think they've gotten a couple of 100-yard performances back to back, but that also says a lot about that offensive line.
Yeah, real pleased with the chemistry and the work ethic of that OL. We had a few holding penalties. You're going to get that when you block as hard as we do and stress the physicality like we do. So it's got to continue to get better each week. We know that teams are going to start trying to find ways to stop our run game, so we have to be prepared to have an answer for when they do load the box, and which makes it being able to catch the ball, throw and catch, even that much more important.
Well, our offense really has been the part of the football program or team where we've had to hang our hat on. And that's the unit that has the most experience over there, and it starts with our offensive line. It's a very tight unit. Those guys have been together for a couple of years now, and we've got some size, but they have a spirit about themselves where they take pride in what they do. They work hard every day. Coach Peterson just does a magnificent job with them. And they like what we do. We call ourselves the grinders, and there's something special about just trying to pound on someone to the point to where you have your will and your way.
Well, you've got a good opportunity ahead of you. You got Johnson coming in. They haven't won a game this year. They haven't really been competitive in any games, but we all know you can't take teams for granted. Your thoughts on the Johnson game?
Josh, you got to remember now we were 0-4, and Johnson has not won a ball game, and so they're in the same boat that we were just last week. They're trying to find that first victory as well, and it's important for us to realize that we're just 1-0 for 1 week. And we have to make sure that we are doing the things that we need to do as far as our focus is concerned, our attitude's in the right place, and still take a humble approach and still be hungry. It's important that also this week is homecoming, that we're not getting distracted by all the events that's going on, and Josh, also we're still a banged up football team, and so we're having to count on some younger players to step up, which is a great opportunity for them. So all that said, Johnson has some pretty good athletes. They have some big offensive linemen, I can tell you, and two of the best good-looking defensive ends you'd ever want to see. They do some good things there, and it's important that we execute at the highest level in order to come out with a victory.
Yes, and it's probably the most hostile environment you can go to in our region. It's a great environment for a football game, but it's pretty hostile. Our kids are going to have to deal with their fans. We're going to have to deal with things like sand gnats, which we're not used to dealing with. And then you have a very, very talented football team in Frederica with all the weapons they have on offense, and they're pretty physical on defense as well.
Last year they came in, they had scored a lot of points, and it ends up an 8-7 game. After the defensive performance, you have to feel pretty good about that going into this game.
Yeah, I think some of that game last year was the fact that they lost 2 days of preparation for us. I think that hurt both teams offensively. But then our defense is playing very well right now, and after Friday night, I feel like we can expect big things from them, and maybe we can hold them to a couple of touchdowns, and we can score one more than they did like last year.
And coming up next, we'll hear from Jennifer Lee Hirsch, who has her Jen's Pick 6.
Center Pharmacy on Grenade Street is proud to be your Health Mart pharmacy in Statesboro. The Medical Center Pharmacy, locally owned and serving this community for 50 years, is open 364 days a year. The pharmacists at Medical Center know there's nothing more important than your family's well-being. That's why they take the time to know their customers, explain their medications, and answer any questions. The Medical Center Pharmacy, your Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, caring for you and about you.
Hey, Miss Thompson, everything's fine. It's going to be no problem. I'll have you done in a few minutes.
My name is Paisley Nordhoff, part owner of Complete Car Care, and I want you to come see me.
And now it's that time of the show everyone looks forward to. It's Jennifer Lee Hirsch to make her Jen's Pick 6. Jen, 4-2 last week. She's still 2 games up on me. I went 3-3, and you have your friend here with us.
Kinley, yeah.
You don't need to pile it on, Jennifer. You're already leading. You don't need more good luck. All right.
Got to.
We're shooting this on Wednesday afternoon. The Georgia Southern game is Wednesday night. We're going to go ahead and pick the game anyway because we haven't had a chance to pick them in a while. Arkansas State giving Georgia Southern 7. Who you like?
You know, I like my Eagles, Georgia Southern Eagles.
All right, I'm going to take Arkansas State. I think the Eagles are going to show improvement, but they still may lose this one. Hopefully not. All right, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern's nemesis. 11 points they're giving to New Mexico State. Who you like in this one?
Appalachian State, 11 points.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you. App State keeps on rolling along. We got Michigan giving 10 points to Michigan State. And I do recall your dad had a friend, Frank, what's his last name?
Emin.
No, Amendola.
Amendola.
And he was from Michigan, and he liked Michigan State. Who you like in this one?
I went against Michigan State this time and went with Michigan.
I'm going to go with your dad's old friend's school, Michigan State, in this one. All right, your Georgia Bulldogs coming off another pounding, took down Tennessee. You got that one right. This week, they stay in the state of Tennessee and go to Vanderbilt, where they're a 17-point favorite. Who you like?
You know, I mean, do we have to ask Peeps? Because
I know.
My segment is broadcasted by Lee Hill Johnson. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go with Georgia on this one.
Golly, I want to go with Georgia too, but I think my Vanderbilt Commodores, that's where my dad used to teach. I got to pick them here, Jennifer. Maybe it'll be closer. They got blown out last week. Florida, who beat Vanderbilt last week, only a 4-point favorite against LSU, who lost to Troy last week. Who you like?
Florida Gators all the way.
All right, I think I'm with you on this one. I think they got a couple people hurt, but still, LSU looked terrible. Final game, Florida State giving Miami of Florida 4 points. We didn't have the Falcons this week because they're off this week.
Yes.
So Florida State giving Florida Miami. Who you like?
Well, you know, I did some research.
Okay.
I love when I come up here and I do my research because it shows me I'm smarter than a 5th grader.
You are smarter than a 5th grader.
What else is new?
Who you got?
This is Miami this week. I'm go with Miami.
I'm with you. Usually you take the points, Jennifer. All right. That'll wrap it up for this week's show. For Jennifer Lee Hirsch and Kinley as well, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.